Now, none of this was going on 4 years ago, and none of it would have happened, none of it, without you. I think you ought to give yourselves a hand. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. And without you, it will all stop. The poet Emerson said that in every political system, there tends to be one party of memory and one party of hope. He meant that there's a party that looks forward and a party that looks back. A party that looks always to the future and a party that looks always to the past. A party of tomorrow, a party of yesterday, a party of action and a party of reaction. Now, our opponents in this state are good people. They are good parents. They are good neighbors. They are Hoosiers like us. But they are not, as a group, good at governing Indiana. They were not in those 16 wilderness years good for this state. Their policies are not good for Indiana today, and we cannot let them reverse the progress of the last 3.5 years. I've read it said they seek a new direction. Oh, they do. The direction they seek is called reverse, and there's nothing new about it. You know, they are like a bad satellite radio station, all negative all the time. God love them. The next constructive idea they propose for Indiana's future will be the first one. The only jobs plan they've got is to get back the government jobs they love so much. In their absorption with big government, they have forgotten where jobs come from. They've forgotten it's the taxpayer who pays for government that we have. They've forgotten that higher taxes are the enemy always of jobs and growth and opportunity. You know, a dead giveaway of their, I think, mistaken view of the world is the way they use that simple word, private. They use it in terms that are hostile, almost sneering. Did we look for opportunities to stretch tax dollars by hiring Hoosiers in the private sector, to save millions, tens of millions of dollars on prison food, custodial services, printing, mail delivery, and other things you can find in the yellow pages? Yes, we did. We wouldn't have had a balanced budget if we hadn't. I would ask the question, why would you overcharge the taxpayers of Indiana hundreds of millions of dollars just to have a bigger government? That's not the Republican answer. This will be a good debate to have. We did what we did. We brought the reforms we brought to save taxpayer dollars, to balance budgets, and to make taxes lower, not higher. But you know, if a side effect of the approaches we have taken is to make the Indiana private economy, where most people live, a little bit bigger, and state government in Indiana a little bit smaller, I'm for that. What do you think? Choice in this state, in this year, is as clear as it has ever been. It's as clear as the difference between yes and no, forward and back, tomorrow and yesterday, a vibrant private sector or big government for its own sake. This must be the year Indiana decides, did we really want change or not? Did we really want to tackle our problems or just wring our hands over them for another 4 years? Do we believe in this state? Do we really believe that we can break out and that we can be excellent, that we can separate from the pack, be the star on every map, an island of excellence? I read a book recently because of the Abe Lincoln bicentennial. I went to my library and pulled out a book I'd enjoyed. An author named Andrew Ferguson, who walked the Lincoln Trail, said the following: more than any state I know of, Indiana has a crippling inferiority complex. Hoosiers struggle desperately to prove to themselves and the world that they have a higher function than simply filling up the space between Cincinnati and Chicago. Cincinnati and Chicago. Ohio, in terrible economic shape, headed south with a desperate fiscal situation. Our way or their way? I like our way. What do you like? Chicago, where they've just raised taxes for the third straight time, awash in red ink. As bad as gas prices are here, Illinoisans are flooding across the state line because there's 20 cents more gas tax there than there is here. Our way or their way? You know, does anybody here feel inferior to our neighboring states? If so, say so right now. I don't. Do you? If it were ever true that Hoosiers had any reason to feel inferior, I say enough. We leave it behind. We are out to be not merely as good as the competition, but the best. To be the star on every map. To be the people and the place that people look to for answers as they're beginning to. The place where people look to for leadership. When they talk about solving the infrastructure crisis in America now, they talk about Indiana. When they talk about where taxpayers are looked after well, they talk about Indiana. When they talk about property taxes headed down and being capped, they're talking about Indiana. I like it when they talk about Indiana, and Republicans are committed to that being common in the future. The poet said, there tends to be a party of hope. I'm looking at them right now. You are a beautiful sight to see. But parties of hope bear a huge responsibility. I hope you feel it. Because all these things that have begun to happen in the state we love are so fragile. They could be so temporary, so ephemeral. It would be so easy to be Illinois. It would be no great trick to be Ohio or Michigan, or these places of mediocrity and overspending and overtaxing and a slow, inevitable decline in the vibrancy of the private sector that makes everything else in life possible. And how ironic when the rest of our neighborhood and much of the rest of America wants to be like us, that anyone should propose, as our opponents do and will, that we should behave like them. Because the policies on offer on the other side of this election are exactly the policies of big government for its own sake. High spending, high taxes, red ink, over-regulation that made our neighbors envious of us. We're not going back if the people in this room are determined we won't.